Okay, hey Grammy.
Yes,
When were you born and where?
I was born in Germany, which is the country of my birth,
What's your birthday?
but I was born April 3rd, 1933.
Okay. Do you remember in learning being taught any anti-Semitic propaganda in school?
Yeah, Hitler started that, but at that time it wasn't that bad yet.
What did the school teach you about Jewish people? Like, did they try to persuade you that they were evil or something?
What is he asking me?
Did your school tell you that Jewish people were bad?
They didn't tell it to us, so that to us normal people, it only was happening, and we only found out about it after the war.
Okay.
After the war, I found out that they had the concentration camps.
Well, Grammy, what I'm trying to say, did you know anybody who just disappeared one night and you
I
never?
didn't know in advance about them. I only found out after the war was
I
over.
know, but I mean, did you know anybody personally who just disappeared one
That's
night?
what I mean. I didn't know about the
But
concentration
later
camps.
you found out they were.
Yeah, I only know that we were being bombed by the Americans because they weren't afraid. That we were also bombed by the French,
Do you
and
remember
they threw bombs on us by the what is the other one? The
the
Americans,
British?
the French, and the
British.
and I know personally when I was 10 years old, I was standing in my father was playing in an orchestra that was there in a town that had still, where you could still make a living playing the violin in an orchestra. And my father was doing that.
Daddy.
And I'm trying to tell you, it has to do with anti-Semitic. I was 10, and I was standing about this far, like over there, where
Yeah.
the magazines are. I was standing about that far,
Okay.
and there were two brothers. Their name was Scholl,
Mhm.
Scholl,
Uh huh.
and they were, of course, they were against Hitler, and and Hitler was there, and they were going to kill him, and they thought they could, so they put this bombing material in there. But Hitler discovered it before they could make it go, and he shot them and killed them right in front of me when I was 10 years old.
Wait,
It
Hitler.
was very big. And they have a monument now in Germany for the brothers Scholl, Scholl, and that is because, because Hitler was not, he was of course anti-Semitic.
Well, it was probably one of his not SS official, not him himself.
What did you say?
You said it was probably not Hitler himself who shot the people you saw.
Yeah, because
It was probably one of his SS,
yeah,
right?
because Hitler was so mean.
Jeremy, did your parents try to shelter you from any of this, um or what?
Well,
Did they try to keep you away
this is
from
what
it?
happened. The doorbell rang in my house, and I opened the door, and my father had gone off to warn some people about the Hitler stuff,
Uh huh.
and so I knew that, but I was only 7 years old, and like a fool, when the doorbell rang, you have to ring them in. And I didn't know it was a Gestapo man. The Gestapo was like the secret police of Hitler.
Yeah.
And the Gestapo man came and he said, "Is your father home?" And I said, "No." I lied. I said, I knew he wasn't home, but I knew where he is. He was off warning some people, four of them. But I didn't say that. I said, "Oh, he's just running some errands." So they said, do you have a knife? And I thought, oh my God, they're going to stick me. So I gave them a knife, but they wanted to sharpen a pencil to leave my father a message so that our police district wasn't big enough so that he could come the next week to the big police district. So my father and I, we had to take a streetcar because we didn't own a car. We had to go out to that big district. Yeah, and the guy who was for Hitler, he liked my father because my father was funny. He had a good sense of humor.
Wasn't your
So he
dad against
liked
Hitler?
my father.
Listen, Kevin, listen.
And I'm trying to tell you, this is, the war has already, was about to start,
Yeah.
and it was already over practically. And my father was, he was like, he was not a friend of Hitler. In the Hitler time, by the way, you were not allowed to shake hands and say good morning and good day and good night. You have to say like this what? Heil Hitler. That means like hail. Hail of the sheep, Heil Hitler. Heil Hitler. That's what I had to do. And my father, heilen, is to cure in German. To cure, like if somebody is sick.
It means to heal.
So my father
But to
would
hail,
say,
hail versus heal.
Opa,
Oh,
his grandfather, I guess he'd be your great-grandfather.
yeah.
He would say, Heil du ihn. That means you cure him.
So if someone
You
said
make
hail
it,
Hitler, he would
yeah.
say, no, you heal him. Of course, he would get in big trouble. He would have gotten into big trouble or even shot if
Yeah.
a
Well,
Gestapo
keep on
person
going
heard him
because
say that.
he said that we have a place for the likes of you. She didn't realize what he was talking about.
I was always with my dad, and so he, it was really, because he was so funny,
Yeah.
people didn't turn him in. But he could have been turned in and end up in concentration camp.
Because Opa would not.
But because he was so funny. And I found out after the war what Nazi meant. It was National, listen to this,
Yeah.
it was called Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei.
What that mean?
It means,
National Socialist
how are
German
we going to
Worker
translate that, Stuart?
Party. National
National
Socialist German Workers
Sozialistische
Party.
German
Workers
Party for working people.
Oh. Oh yeah.
I only found out after the war that that's what Nazi meant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mom, talk about how you would have to display Hitler's picture in your house, in every house.
How I did what?
How every house had to display Hitler's photograph.
And how Opa wouldn't put it anywhere. And how Hitler came
Oh,
in and wanted to know where his
the
picture was.
Gestapo came to my house after I had told them, my father, I would give them the message. They came to my house and they said, we don't see you have a Hitler picture. He said, oh. And they said, we're going to come back next week and we're going to make sure you have a Hitler picture. And we had a piano which was called an upright piano.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't a piano that was flat, but it had a thing like this, it was up.
Yeah.
So my father got a Hitler picture, but he put it on the other side of the upright piano so that nobody saw it. So the Gestapo man comes back the next week, and he said, I don't see your Hitler picture. He said, I am a musician. I put it on my piano because that is a very famous place.
of honor.
And that was actually lying because, nobody
Really
could
put
see
it on
it.
the backside
But
of
the
the piano so he
Gestapo
didn't have
man
to see
was
it.
so stupid that he didn't realize. He said, oh, okay.
Really? We're back.
Okay.
Did you have to do anything in school, like for Hitler or something?
What is he asking me?
Did you have to say anything at school, like a pledge of
Oh,
allegiance? Pledge of
everything.
allegiance.
Every morning we had to go for the flag coming up, and
Yeah.
we had to say, we had to put our arms up and sing, sing the German national anthem, Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles, über alles in der Welt, wenn es steht zu Schutz und Trotzen, brüderlich zusammenhält. Von dem Mars bis an den Himmel, von dem Erz bis an den Welt. Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles, über alles in der Welt. Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles in der Welt. And then in the Nazi time we had to add, die Fahne hoch, die Reihen dicht geschlossen, Kameraden, die Rotfront und Reaktion erschossen. So that we had to sing in
Okay,
addition.
hey Grammy, did you know any pro-Hitler people who may have tried to
He's
convert
talking
you?
so softly. Did I know who?
Did you know any like pro-Hitler people who may have tried to convert you? Or
Stuart, help me here.
Did you know any people who were very Hitlery, you know, who liked Hitler and tried to talk about Hitler around you?
Well, Hitler didn't like any people who were Jewish. And the reason was, we found out after the war that Hitler actually was past Jewish, because he had actually nothing against the Jewish people except that they were holding all the money. All the big people and the banks and the stores, they were all Jewish, and because of that, he actually persecuted them, and he started what was later known as concentration camps, and he made them work and do all kinds of stuff, which was not very good.
okay.
And after the war, we normal Germans did not know about concentration camps, even though some Americans after the war thought that was not the case, but it is the case, because I know we didn't know about it. My family didn't know about it. I know it. And so those concentration camps were not the good thing, to say about what was happening, because they just thought it was, that it wasn't a good thing if you were Jewish. Since my father and I had to go to the doorbell rang one day.
Grammy, like as Germans, what were your views on, like, let's say America or France or?
A lot of people,
Russia.
if they were smart and they knew more, who were Jewish, left Germany by way of Switzerland, because Switzerland, even the Nazis, by the way, Nazis stood for Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, and because of everybody had kept their money, also even Hitler and all those people kept their money in Switzerland. It was very safe to be in Switzerland because nobody did anything to the people in Switzerland because
it was hard to attack.
because they had their money there.
Well, also the mountain passes.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
It was easy to defend.
Then, you and your family weren't pro-Hitler. Were you like tried in any way? Were you tried to like get arrested?
What did he say?
Because Opa didn't like Hitler, was he ever arrested or almost arrested?
No, because Opa was so funny. He had a sense of humor. And I remember we were called, when I was 7, the Gestapo men rang the doorbell, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah, you told that story, Mom.
Yeah. Okay,
You told
now,
that story. We already got
after
it.
that, my father had to go to the big police presidium where
They
we,
questioned him.
yeah,
They took away some of his books and burned them.
yeah. And my mother,
And then they told him he couldn't teach children anymore. He could only make a living by playing in an orchestra.
yeah,
Because they didn't want his political views affecting children.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, he wasn't sent to a concentration camp. He was sent off to a spa resort where he played in an orchestra that entertained wounded soldiers.
okay.
Grammy, do you have any stories of like any attacks during the war?
Well, I was 10 years old, and I went to, my parents Yeah, they had evacuated all the children to East Prussia, and most parents never saw their children again. But my parents had friends in a very rich part of Germany, and they sent me to these rich people. Or the son was 13 years old, and his sister was 10, and I was 9 or something like that. We were. I was lucky that I was with that family. And what we had in the schools in those times, we had three kinds of alarm. The Americans came to throw bombs on us and shoot at us. The French came and the English came. The Americans were the only ones who came during the day because they were,
Brave.
all the others were, what is feige in
Oh, cowardly.
cowardly, So only the Americans came during the day. So we had three kinds of alarm. 4 alarm, which went
Four.
bah,
She's talking about air raid warnings.
which is
Okay.
early. They had spied them, but quite far away.
So different kinds of sounds coming from the siren would tell
Yeah.
you. So she's at the 4 alarm means the before alarm. That means planes have been spotted way far
Yeah,
away.
and that's when you were in school where they still let you go home. And I was in a part of Germany where you could actually go home and be okay. And I remember I came through this tunnel-like thing, and then you come out of it, and you start walking up, and then when you get in Germany in those days, hardly anybody had their own home, whole house. They had more like an apartment house, but that was a district where they had their own homes, and I was walking up in this effing
Don't say
American plane, don't lose effing, this American plane. I saw the pilot and I saw the guy everybody could tell I was a 10-year-old little
I
girl.
don't know about a
And
10-year-old.
they don't have any reason to shoot me.
Or at least you were an innocent citizen walking.
Yeah, and they shot at me. And I barely made it into the house. There was in front of when that happened. And I
So you
walked.
just ran into some stranger's house.
It was probably from about here to those magazines over there with the trailers. And I was in the house, and the lady of the house had just used the bathroom, and she was pulling up her pants still, and she didn't care.
Are you
And-
filming?
And then we were there in Germany in those days. We didn't have refrigerators. We had a Speisekammer, it was called.
ice
There was
boxes.
a cold room in the house, a small, cold room in the house where we kept our food. And so she and I dove into the Speisekammer and lay down, and those son of the bitches, pardon the French, shot into us. They could see
the
I was
house?
a 10. Yeah, they shot into us where we were lying on the floor, and we were lucky we made it through. And ever since then, I've hated the Americans.
Then
And
why did you marry an American?
that was love.
Grammy, did you have any relatives that had to go fight in the war?
What did he ask me?
Did you have any relatives who had to fight in the war?
Yeah, my brother, he never came back. Your uncle, old great uncle, his uncle, brother Wilfred. We have no idea whatever happened to him. He was actually playing the French horn in Norway,
In the German
in a
army
band, in a German band in Norway. And he would have been all safe if not those stupid Nazis had decided to send him to Radom, Poland. But the worst part about the whole thing is that we do not know, and we tried, my parents tried. His birthday, by the way, my birthday is April 3rd, and his birthday is April 15th. And I always used to say, because I have a sense of humor, in case you haven't noticed, I used to always say that Wilfred, that my parents cried every 15th of April, and I said they cried and the whole country cried with them, because that's when the income taxes are due. Everybody had to pay their taxes by the 15th of April, and I made that as a joke, but it wasn't really very funny. And my father bought my brother a new French horn to have for when he came back after the war, supposedly. And that French horn is in my room downstairs, in my house,
Hey,
up
Grammy,
high.
do you have any memories of like when Hitler would come to your town to have
What
like
is he saying?
Do you have any memories of when Hitler came to you?
Did Hitler ever come through your town? Did you ever actually see him in person?
like a parade?
I didn't see him in my town, but I saw him on in Nuremberg. We had in 1939. That's before it was either 1938 or 1939, maybe 1938. We had an Austrian vacation, and we stayed with a family who the father and the mother sewed, and so they had them sew nice new clothes, and then we came back by way of Nuremberg. Nuremberg, Germany, is a famous town,
Yeah, that's
and
where
we
the,
had
the war crime trials were after the war.
and we had we had time for our next train was several hours. So we were walking around the town, and lo and behold, there was a hill going up, and Hitler was talking really loud. He was giving a speech.
So you
So-
saw him in person giving a speech.
Yeah,
So you saw like a rally going on in the distance?
How close did you actually get to him?
I got to him just a little bit further than these exhibits.
You were like 20 feet away from him?
Yeah, I was walking, and it was a little uphill, and that's where the
Tell me when you're
Nazis.
ready.
We're good.
All right, Mom, tell about how you saved the concert.
You,
It was a Beethoven symphony, where the storm scene?
oh yeah, and I was always backstage. I was very young. How old was I? Maybe 8. I sat in the lap of the. They always had a fireman because
Fire marshal.
we had to have everything darkened, all the windows, because if the light shone and they came to throw the bombs, then they would know where you are.
So they had blackout curtains, in other words.
Yeah.
So
So
anyway, a concert was going on.
a concert was going on, Beethoven's Sixth Symphony. And in his Beethoven Sixth Symphony, there is a day in the country. And the day in the country also
Includes.
includes a thunderstorm. Because, you can have a thunderstorm, and yes, how many? I think it has 5 movements, not 4.
No, it's 4.
Well, that's 4, but anyway. I was sitting in the fireman's lap, and the fireman said, because that was going on stage, the day in the country, and they had
He thought the storm that
Yeah,
they were creating with the orchestra was a
Was-
bombing attack coming.
yeah, but
So he was
because
going to cancel the concert.
it sounded like the fourth movement, third movement of the symphony sounded like air bombs. We were always like. So I said to the fireman, don't cancel the concert yet. He was going to cancel it. Don't cancel the concert yet. I was very little. I said, don't cancel the concert yet. I'm going to go out and find out what goes on. And I called. My father was,
She crawled under the chairs of the musicians.
yeah, there was
on
a
her hands and knees out on
concertmaster
stage
and an
during the
assistant
concert.
concertmaster, and my father was the second stand on the outside.
So
That means he would be like third concertmaster. So I was crawling through the orchestra. I still see it because I have this memory. I was crawling through the orchestra till I was under my father's chair, and I realized all that what you sounded like bombing was in Beethoven's Sixth Symphony.
was a thunderstorm scene.
Yeah, it was a thunderstorm supposed to be. So I called back, and I said to the fireman, "You don't have to cancel the orchestra. It's all going on stage." He said, "Okay, I trust you." And then after the concert,
The conductor.
the conductor came out. His name was Mr. Kellerman, and he was so mad. And the fireman said, "Hey, stop. She saved your concert," because she realized that in the concert, what sounded like bombing was what Beethoven had written in the town or the country.
So the conductor was going to ban her from being backstage, but then
Yeah.
the fire marshal said, "No, don't do that because she actually saved your concert."
Yeah. So I saved the concert. That was pretty good. I still remember how it looked. I don't know why I have that kind of memory.